I was able to come home for like 3 days that fall semester of my senior year. And I had a friend later on tell me that when I saw her, she literally went home and cried to her mom because she was so worried about me.
You were talking about your former teammate Blair Fleming, a trans athlete who's a biological male, met with an opposing player, right, at Colorado State to get the player to spike the ball in your face. And then you talked about that a little bit. And now you have more information. What can you tell us?
It's a situation that I thought the worst of it was having to share a team in a locker room with a man. And then to find out that he's basically trying to harm me physically on the court because he's not happy with me disagreeing with his decision to play on a women's volleyball team put me in harm's way more than I thought I had to worry about.
The SJSU women's volleyball player says her male teammate colluded with their opponent to spike her in the face in a match. The investigation was cleared in 3 days by the same firm that defended the male's eligibility. Beyond corrupt, says Riley Gaines.
When I brought this to my coach, he cursed me out just for saying, what if these teams start to forfeit? We take this one man out of the situation and play this game as women. He said I'm a bigot, I'm a hateful human being, I'm ruining this program. He said that the things that I'm doing are going to ruin this program, not the thing that this one person is doing, and also not taking accountability for whatsoever, from compliance, from our media personnel, from our AD. Everyone said that they were going to try and find a way to pull my scholarship.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So US District Judge Cato Cruz ruled in favor of female athletes the other day. He has allowed the Title IX claims against SJSU to proceed. So this is the Slusser versus Mountain West case. And this lawsuit is led by former San Jose State University's women's volleyball co-captain, Brooke Slusser. Slusser filed the lawsuit against representatives of her school and the Mountain West Conference in fall 2024, after she allegedly was made to share bedrooms and changing spaces with trans teammate Blair Fleming for a whole season without being informed that Fleming is in fact male. So SJSU decided to allow a male onto its roster on a women's volleyball team. So there were a number of teammates who came forward who said they objected to having a male on its roster. And there were also female athletes from various schools within the conference who objected as well. And there were 6 boycotts against SJSU. This affected results, this affected records, this affected the conference that year. And of course, this led to them essentially having to forfeit. So these female athletes have come forward, as well as the assistant head coach who lost her position because she dared to stand up for the female athletes. Melissa Beatty-Smooth, she uprooted her life for this job, for this position as assistant head coach. She stands up for the female athletes and ends up losing her job. Melissa took the position, not even knowing that one of the teammates was male. And this is the lawsuit that has resulted from that. They're taking action. And this is a huge breakthrough in the case because this very same judge denied an injunction that was sought by the female athletes to prevent this male player from competing in the Mountain West Conference and to adjust records that were affected, to adjust the results that were affected because of the boycotts. The judge blocked this injunction and threw it out just a couple of years ago.
San Jose State University is celebrating the court's decision today. Meanwhile, the opposing counsel has already filed an intent to appeal. After 6 teams forfeited games against San Jose State's women's volleyball team this season, and 9 athletes filed an injunction to remove a player from the Spartans team, citing reports that she's a transgender athlete, a judge has now weighed in on the growing controversy, giving SJSU a win, not on the volleyball court, but in federal court.
The court said there was no harm in allowing the tournament to go forward and this player continuing to participate.
In a statement, San Jose State said the university was gratified the court rejected an 11th hour attempt to change the rules of the conference, adding, "Our team looks forward to competing in the Mountain West volleyball tournament this week." The controversy around the team has been a hot topic both on SJSU's campus and on the national political stage.
I'm really happy about that because I do not feel that it was appropriate for whoever decided to come forward and out her. It was none of their business.
With an appeal pending, the case is about to get volleyed through the federal courts and could ultimately be settled by the nation's highest court.
So for the case to be allowed to proceed, to be at this stage now, is absolutely huge. Cruz even acknowledged that his previous ruling might even be brought into question by the US Supreme Court. The motion to strike class allegations is denied. What remains of the amended complaint is plaintiff's Title IX claims for damages against the CSU board. So the court defers ruling on the Title IX damages claims until after the Supreme Court has issued its ruling in BPJ. Icons had the following to say: "This case continues to move forward, and we are encouraged that further guidance from the Supreme Court may provide additional clarity and momentum to the plaintiff's claims that San Jose State University violated Title IX by permitting a male athlete to compete on the SJSU women's volleyball team." And Slusser's attorney, Bill Bock, said, "We're looking forward to the case going forward. I believe that the court is going to find that Title IX operates on the basis of biological sex, without regard to an assumed or professed gender. And so just like the Congress and the members of Congress that passed Title IX in 1972 allowed this, specifically provided for in the regulations that there had to be separate men's and women's teams based on biological sex, I think the court is going to see that is the original meaning of the statute and apply it in that way. And I think it's going to be a big win in women's sports." So things are moving in the right direction, and this ruling is evidence of that, especially in light of the pending decision of the Supreme Court in the BPJ case. However, the judge did dismiss the allegations against the Mountain West Conference and essentially said that it's not subject to Title IX. Icons and Brooks Lusser's lawyer says that they are going to appeal this decision, this aspect of the decision. It is obviously very problematic. Not only should the schools be subject to Title IX, the sporting bodies, the conferences that organise these tournaments have to be subject to Title IX. Otherwise, what is the point? Icon's response to this was the following: "Finally, Icons and the female athletes it supports respectfully disagree with Judge Cruz's conclusion that the Mountain West Conference is not subject to Title IX. Universities covered by Title IX cannot evade their obligations by acting collectively through an athletic conference. Institutions should not be permitted to do together what they are prohibited from doing individually. We look forward to challenging this aspect of the district court's ruling on appeal." And Box said it's likely that his team will appeal the dismissal of charges against the Mountain West. He said there's a real flaw in the dismissal of the Mountain West Conference. I think an appeal is very likely. The Mountain West has responded in a statement provided by Fox News Digital. They said, "We appreciate the court's thorough review of the allegations. We are pleased the court granted the Mountain West's and Commissioner Navarez's motions to dismiss in their entirety. We remain focused on supporting our member institutions and student athletes." And Judge Cruz is a Biden appointee appointed in 2024. He previously ruled to allow Blair Fleming, the male athlete, to continue playing volleyball in the Mountain West tournament after Slusser and her co-plaintiffs made a request for a preliminary injunction to have Fleming ruled ineligible in November 2024. He said, "I simply have a disagreement with him regarding what the law is, and particularly with respect to Title IX. So a couple of years ago, Cruz was open to interpreting Title IX with gender identity in mind. But now the Supreme Court ruling is questioning if that was the original purpose of Title IX. And I think we can agree that it wasn't. And perhaps Judge Cruz is seeing that coming. So he's put a pause on his initial ruling. And remember, it was the Mountain West who claimed to be investigating the alleged plot.
They didn't even bring in anyone to take a look at film that actually has knowledge of the game. They hired a law firm that was already in a lawsuit against something that I am fighting for, and they're against me. And obviously coming in have apparent bias towards the other side and not what I'm trying to do. And then they don't even bring in someone to look at film. They just go by what everyone else has to say and decide to believe the few people that obviously aren't going to tell the truth in this situation because they know they would get into big trouble.
It was the Mountain West Conference who claimed to be investigating the alleged plot against Brooks Lusser, but appointed the same law firm that they appointed to fight for the male player to remain in the conference. Any reasonable person would see that as a conflict of interest. So to put it mildly, their investigation was questionable. Not to mention some of the discrepancies with the dates that Outkick uncovered. They didn't even have the date of the alleged plot correct. So yes, it is important that the sporting bodies, those organising these tournaments, comply with Title IX. Otherwise, it leaves the door open for these schools to violate it and continue discriminating against female athletes. Title IX was written to be applied effectively, to be applied appropriately for the protection of all athletes, regardless of biological sex. And biological sex trumps gender identity. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.